Welcome back to another video. Hope you're having a wonderful and spectacular day. I know I am because we're here playing some custom BTD6 content that isn't modded, and I might get into mods eventually, but I have a ton of ideas still, so keep throwing me your challenge ideas and other ideas. There have been a few ideas that have actually been extremely interesting and they're in the works now, so if you're new, you'll want to sub to be notified for when these interesting challenges come out. So stay tuned. Anyways, on to the video. I honestly wished this week was a different boss. I feel like we've been playing a bit too much phase lately. I totally get it. Ninja Kiwi wants to milk this boss for a bit. While it's new to keep players intrigued. But I just feel like it isn't that hard of a boss by any means. Is it just me? Let me know if you guys agree or even disagree, or what you guys even think of boss content. It's one of my favorite content right now, but I'm actually a sucker for story modes or roguelikes. Something to what Ice have actually posted recently with a bit more story. Actually, like the recent update, Scoop's Tall Tale, even though it was a tail quest, it was way harder than I think it should be. I actually enjoyed it. And hopefully NK will make more of those. Also, on a side note, I do decide to do ranked versions on all my runs, just for fun. I don't really care about medals anyways. I'm not that great when it comes to bosses for rank scores. So this week we decide to do Fountain only, and this is very reminiscent of one of my first videos that got me to starting YouTube actually, which was Blue Nereus using only water tiles on 1-2 tree. We're going to do a similar strat this time because the max number of boats you can fit in here is actually 4. However, small towers you can actually fit a bit more with some ice, about 5 to 6 snipers if you fit them really well. So we'll go ahead with this. So we start with 4 merchantmen. Something I actually discovered to do on round 28 when leads first come out is actually not buy any lead popping power. By round 27 we actually either have 2 choices. One of the merchantmen we buy lead popping power on our boat, or we buy another merchantman. Since lead balloons are worth 23 RBE, if you don't know what RBE is red balloon equivalent. We'll go ahead and tank all of the leads because 6 times 23 is 138, so you're going to make 138 cash, or your merchantman will make you 220, and it's only 98 extra cash, but trust me, in the long run, actually saving up even 98 can make a huge difference, right? It means you can purchase another farming tower 1 round earlier, and getting that farming tower even 1 round earlier can get you even more cash, which will end up kind of cascading into something bigger, right? So we buy a bunch of flavor trades, and later on give them all grape shot and hot shot so they can self-sustain. Pretty straightforward so far, nothing out of the ordinary. And once we have enough, we afford Trade Empire, and should be good to solo. Just kidding. Okay, so it looks like Trade Empire isn't good here only because of the range. So they cover most of the track, but the corner loops are proving to be a problem. So instead, we go for an aircraft carrier. I was a bit worried as phase was going on that aircraft carrier wouldn't work out. So instead, I buy a carrier flagship, which will easily solo. I do go for the camel cross path so that it can target phase. Eventually, we go ahead and sell the carrier flagship to repurchase my flavor trades army, which can self-sustain pretty well until round 60. I decide that I will go for a plasma accelerator on top of a carrier flagship, just for damage and just to ensure that I could proceed. I didn't have enough for a Spirit of the Forest yet, so we just go with what we have here. I have merchantmen still farming for me, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Eventually, once phase is dead, we sell plasma and buy our Spirit of the Forest. At this point, I was starting to get a bit worried. I didn't really optimize that well, and I was doing a lot of buying and reselling. So I thought maybe I would barely just be able to afford an Apex Plasma Master, but we'll have to see once we get tier 5. For tier 3, we play a few rounds until we're able to afford a MAD. MAD by itself melts phase for tier 3, so not much to explain here. We keep most of the snipers to farm, and here's one of the few mistakes I made. I probably should have kept the flavored trades on the bottom right, and that's for 2 reasons. One, once the boat becomes an aircraft carrier, it actually takes up more space than before. So with the upgraded aircraft carrier, you can no longer fit another boat in here, and you can only fit like a sub or smaller footprint towers. Also, the sellback seemed a bit more worth it for the MAD than possibly a few cash crates. Regardless, I decided to try and go for an Energizer, since cooldowns for abilities is pretty useful since we have a lot of ability farming. Finally, we hit tier 4. This time we go for a perma brew to buff the MAD as well as all the other towers, which will give a little bit more edge that the MAD was missing. This was pretty straightforward as well and pretty flawless. We beat tier 4 and we decide we'll keep the defense until 119. I would love to farm more, but we really need some popping power, especially for the 3 bads on round 119. We finally hit 119, and then I rebuy a flavored trades to get the extra sell back on everything. Even had to sell Arctic Wind, not sure why not Arctic Wind, but Absolute Zero. Not sure why I went Absolute Zero, since Snowstorm with larger radius or a 4041 can already fit everything, and that was my bad. I did all of this only to find out, crap, I didn't have enough. I would need to go a few rounds into phase and then try to win with a tier 1 Apex when I could afford it. So things were starting to get a bit tight as well with micro while the phase was moving along. But finally, we were able to afford our tier 1 Apex, and thank goodness for it. It was finally doing decent damage and shredding the boss, I think. Okay, actually it's looking a lot closer than I would like, especially with this last skull. The balloons are all the way up here, and I think at this point the only things that could kill me are fortified ZOMGs. Oh, okay, crap. Alright, well, let's see if this can handle it. Okay, that was a total fail and waste of time, and I did a pretty terrible run for farming. So let me redo this and do it properly to show you how it's done correctly. Up to 40, everything is the same, with the lead strat on 28 to get merchantmen. This time on round 40, I buy an aircraft carrier and don't buy a carrier flagship. I note that in my first attempt, as it was super sloppy and I did way too much buying and reselling, eventually caused me to lose a bunch of extra cash for no reason. So also, if you're wondering why I went 204, the Great Merchantman, instead of a 042, I just misclicked, but it's fine. It did its job. I buy a Trade Empire on the top, even though I'm going to use that spot to rebuy an aircraft carrier later on. And so we keep this defense until 60. Round 60, I buy another Trade Empire later, but need farming as well as DPS. Thankfully, this time with more consistent saving in terms of money and not just frivolously buying everything. Sorry, I clearly suck at English. I'm able to actually afford a Spirit of the Forest as well as an aircraft carrier. So remember when I said I needed $98? I guess here technically I didn't need the $98, but crazy coincidence from the lead farming. But this also shows that I probably could have gotten away with the lead popping power, but you know what, better safe than sorry. This defense is actually good enough on its own to beat phase. Aircraft carrier does a ton of damage, and the thorns from Spirit of the Forest, which naturally see camo, is a great bonus. The snipers are able to fit 2 of each sniper for each boat section, and so they will generally make more money than the boats will. So we get 4 snipers. On round 80, this time we don't even have to sell Trade Empire, as this one again won't be able to fit here later on, so we keep this one for the rest of the game, and we sell 2 snipers for a MAD instead. Again, similar to tier 3 from the last run, so no problems here. On tier 4, we sell another sniper, but are able to fit a permabrew as well as keep the elite sniper at the top. Again, this defense works exactly the same as tier 4 in my failed attempt, so no difference here. However, the difference that all of the small tweaks that I did made a massive difference. The original run, on round 20, we made about 186k. This time, we're sitting at a whopping 249k. On top of that, I didn't even have to rebuy Trade Empire this time. After selling everything, we also put down a discount village to help save even a little bit more money, just in case this time. And it's the moment of truth. And thank God I had enough for the last crossbow master, so with everything we actually get a tier 30. And finally, this thing shreds unlike tier 1. It's literally a night and day difference in damage, and goes to show you that everything, as much as you try to make it super clean, can still be optimized even more. I believe this was as optimal as it could be, and I don't think this will beat elite, unfortunately. I'm thinking of attempting elite using the corners and maybe the water. Let me know if you guys want to see something like that. Anyways, as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for me so you can be informed on my newest and latest content coming out. And I will see you all in the next video.